Hey, everyone. This is Jeremiah from Bigfoot Society Podcast. We're doing Bigfoot Society Live, where I'm going to be bringing on a special guest to interview them. And then you can go ahead and put your questions in the chat. Let me know if you can hear this real quick if someone could put something in the chat. That would be super. And then we will bring on our guest in a few minutes. All right. Well, let me go ahead and I will bring on our guest here. He's a newer friend, Aaron. I am spending a few minutes just to make sure that this is working. So give me just one moment here. Check something on YouTube real quick. Sorry, this is super professional of me, but perfect. All right. So it is live. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and bring in our guest here, and then I'll let you know all about him. So here we go.
Hello.
Aaron, Deese, how's it going, man? Thanks
Fantastic.
for coming on tonight.
Hey,
Awesome,
thank you so much for having me. This is a super exciting thing.
You got it. I'm gonna share your bio real quick, and then we'll get in chatting and kind of get your story. So
sounds good.
And this is straight from Aaron. So here we go. Aaron has had an interest in the unsolved for most of his life. Raised in Central Florida and immersed in traditional Christian ideology, Aaron also has a background in martial arts and a passion for all things weird. Aaron and his wife, Sara, host the podcast Hey Strangeness and live in Austin, Texas with too many cats. So there's a lot to unpack from that bio, but good bio. So I'm curious. How many cats is too many cats?
So it depends who you ask. Okay. Right now we have 6, and we're not going any more than 6, which sounds terrible on paper. Like it sounds horrible and negligent. But Sara is a veterinary technician, so they get a lot of in-home care that, they otherwise wouldn't. And they're all rescues and they're all monsters, but sometimes it feels like too many. Yeah.
Well, that's nice of you guys to help out the feline population, especially with rescues. That's really good.
Yeah, thank you. They're all right. They're over there.
Awesome. So I'm kind of curious. Martial arts. What kind of martial arts were you?
Yes. When I got, how old was I? 11 or 12. I started doing Okinawan Kempo, and then we had some jiu-jitsu guys that joined us later on. We had some guys that had studied in Japan, and I mean, like, lived over there for 30 years and done things very traditionally, and then brought it back to the States with them. And so that was a lot of, the physical stuff, the exercise and the actual martial arts, but there's also, some metaphysical stuff to that too. And my teachers were pretty practical. They didn't get too deep into that, but there was a lot of emphasis on like energy and the vibes that you put off and how your mental state plays into when you're doing something physical. So that kind of gave me like an early taste of the, I guess, metaphysical side of things, I suppose.
Nice. That's cool. Did you find, maybe besides that, did anything else kind of trigger your love for the weird and things of that nature?
Yeah. So I was raised in a fairly traditional religious environment, and somewhat early on, I guess I was a younger teenager, I encountered some stuff that's pretty weird that, there is a biblical context for, but that isn't talked about a whole lot. Spiritual stuff. And that kind of had me going, all right, well, what what else is out there? Like, what other things have we not figured out that are not written down, or that not enough has been written down about? And so that kind of helped me segue into being interested in the Mothman and different cryptids. And
Totally.
so it's always kind of been in the background for me. Yeah, that was probably what set it off, though.
I'm trying to imagine you as like in your like church youth group, and like all of a sudden you're like, wait, Mothman.
There were a couple moments like that. They were just like,
yeah, that'd be wild.
Okay,
dude.
all right, that's fine.
And the cool thing is that you are in well, there, I would say in the US there's a few areas of weirdness, right?
Mhm.
Well, let's say culturally known weirdness, and Portland would be one.
Yeah.
Austin is kind of a little weird too, right?
It's a strange place down here. Central Texas in general is pretty weird, but Austin's catchphrase is "Keep Austin weird." I don't know if that's necessarily supposed to be because of the paranormal aspect, but there's a lot down here. I mean, you search Austin hauntings and just you get all this stuff popping up on the map.
Oh, really?
We've got dogman sightings that are adjacent to Austin. We've got some that go a little closer to San Antonio. And then we've got a lot of Native American lore that goes really deep and really, really far back. So, yeah, when you start digging, Central Texas is a really, really weird place. We've got UFO sightings. We had something weird in San Antonio just a couple weeks ago. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, that's crazy. I was trying to think of like how far back I remember. I think you started coming in through, well, it was Instagram, and then you got super involved with Clubhouse, which is awesome. Yeah. And like you came out of nowhere and you were like super jazzed up, dude. I was like, this guy rocks.
Oh, thank you. Well, I was getting in these rooms and I'm like, oh man, these are all the people I follow on Instagram. These are like people whose work I really like. And then there's this person I recognized and this person I recognized. I'm like, oh my God, I'm having conversations with these people. This is so cool. So yeah, I was pretty jazzed. I'm still pretty jazzed.
Dude. Yeah. It's a trip, like how we were all, Greg had the room with Lyle Blackburn and others last night. That was a good room, dude. That was solid. If you're listening to this and you don't know what Clubhouse is, you need to join Clubhouse and then join the Cryptozoology Club, and you can talk to all your cryptozoology heroes and whatevs. You know, it's a good time.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your enthusiasm for sure.
Thank you.
He's a good dude. So let's start with first off, explain what Hey Strangeness is. How did that all come about? What's like the origin story of Hey Strangeness?
Yeah. So it started back in March because I wanted a place to show off my weird book collection.
Yeah.
Because I would put them on my personal account. They would get a couple likes here and there, but that's not, most of my friends aren't reading Jack Parsons biographies. So, that wasn't the best place to put it. So then I created just like a second Instagram account just to do that. And then I started going through old photos and stuff. And I was like, well, wow, I've been to Roswell and I've been to the Hoover Dam and I've been to these haunted places in New Orleans. Like, I actually got a lot of material that I could start doing some really light, not too intensive blogging. And then I think after like a month of that, Sara, my wife, and I were talking one day and she's like, well, why don't you start a podcast? And I was like, I'd love to do that, but I want to co-host. I don't want to do it by myself. I feel like I'll run out of things to say. And I guess she was in a really good mood that day because she's like, well, if you plan it and you produce it and you do whatever with it, then I'll be your co-host. So I've held her to that ever since. Now I guess it's been about 6 months. We've got 3 episodes out. We don't really keep to an update schedule because I know that if I try, I'll fail. So it just, we try to get a couple out a month. That's kind of the tentative goal. But yeah.
You guys have a really, really good chemistry back and forth, which is great because, that's good, right?
Yeah, it's good if we can get along.
It's really good.
12 years together, she's learned how to put up with me. So I'm glad that translates.
But she's really good. So give her kudos
for sure.
For adding a lot to the show, definitely.
She's watching in the next room, but I will pass that on also.
Nice. Let's see. So, Oh, I got to ask you, because I think this is going to be a hard one. Maybe. What is your favorite cryptid?
You know, I kind of half expected you to ask me that. So can I have
know.
3 answers?
Yep. I
Okay.
guess if you can say which one is your favorite, but
Yeah, see, that's hard. Okay, so Mothman is my all-timer. Like that's the one that got me into this stuff. I've had a copy of the Mothman Prophecies since the Richard Gere movie came out, which I know people have different feelings on that movie. I'm not here to start that conversation, but that was when I bought the book. So that was my first like paranormal book, and that's what got me set on this path. So Mothman's probably my all-time favorite. I've become really fond of the Wendigo lately. That's some scary stuff.
That is some scary stuff.
It's nuts. And I'm really into Dogman right now. So current favorite is Dogman, werewolves, bipedal canines. But all-timer is the Mothman. So I guess I cheated. It's Mothman. Had to reason it out.
Your Dogman episode is really good.
Thank you.
I would recommend everyone that. Sorry. Tate says, looks like you waited for me to start, not. Hey, you knew when this was starting, buddy. So
we were almost late too.
we were. There's a lot of behind the scenes tech stuff. Anyways, so your Dogman episode is legit.
Thank you.
I'm waiting for the book to come out someday.
You keep saying that. You keep putting that idea in my head. It might just happen.
I hope it does. So you've gotten some. I mean, you started in March of this year, right?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
You've started, and I don't know how you pulled it off, but man, you are starting to interview some really cool dudes. Could you tell me about who you've been able to interview so far?
It kind of came out of nowhere. I was contacted by Cody Turk, who's out of San Antonio, actually, and he works with Paranormality magazine, which is put out by, I'm sure a lot of people listening are familiar, the podcast rankings and all that fun stuff. But Jack Kirby puts out Paranormality, and they were looking for contributors. And I had just gotten, I had just been fortunate enough to get an early look at On the Trail of UFOs, Dark Sky by Small Town Monsters, which if you talked to me for more than 5 minutes, that was one of the best days. Like, I'm a big Small Town Monsters fanatic. So
I remember you were pumped about that.
I'm still pumped about it. It was it was a few weeks ago. But they reached out and they're like, hey, would you want to do a review of it for the magazine? I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I wrote that up and I sent it in and got a pretty good response. And then about a week later, I guess, Jack was like, hey, do you want to interview Jody Cook live on YouTube in a couple weeks? And I was like, Jody Cook of the North American Dogman Research Project, which having taken this deep dive into Dogman stuff lately was maybe synchronicitous. Maybe we're just a smallish community. I don't know, but I was super, super pumped about it. And fun coincidence, I don't know. We had already written the outline for our Dogman episode, and then Jack reached out to me and was like, hey, do you want to talk to him? So it kind of lined up. It kind of lined up at the perfect time. And then just recently I got to interview David Weatherly. Talked to him for about a half an hour a couple weeks ago. That was a tough article to write because, man, when you've seen and done and researched all the things that guy has seen and done, it's hard to like summarize it with brevity. You know what I mean? Like there's so much. There's so much.
That's why I need to read that because it sounds like it was a super fun interview. It
was, man. I got his permission to record the audio just so I could reference it later. And I was listening back through it and I'm like, this guy is fascinating. Like just good stuff.
We have a question. Well, we've got Tate Hieronymus just being crazy in the chat, which I'm not going to acknowledge.
I do want Tate's autograph though, for what it's worth.
for sure. But also I do want to, Jonathan Dodd, a great cryptid artist.
He
says, tell me about the Texas Dogman Triangle. So I don't want you to take, how about this? Do a little snippet so that people will be like, I gotta go watch that Hey Strangeness episode.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you the elevator pitch. So,
okay, cool.
North American Dogman Research Project has an encounters map, and I'm on there browsing one day, and I realized there are sightings adjacent to Johnsonville and Fredericksburg, which are two cities that are kind of close together, kind of not. They're situated in the hill country. friend of mine, very credible witness, saw something that really just equates to a quote unquote traditional dogman sighting. And when you put that sighting on the map, it creates a triangle. So we started digging and we're like, seems like there's something going on here. And the square mileage that those 3 encounters make up, it's not a perfect triangle. It's kind of a, you call it a rhombus. I don't know.
It works.
Yeah, it's still technically a triangle. I mean, you can draw 3 points on a map and make a triangle anytime you want. So maybe it's a cop out on my part, but it makes up an area of about 700 square miles, which is feasibly, can make up the hunting grounds of a wolf, at least in the traditional sense that we understand them. Wolves have been extinct in Texas for a long time. But it's also a very vast place. So we kind of just explore the possibility of what could be hiding out there in the hill country. And if you've never driven through Texas, I wouldn't say do it if you get the chance, because it's going to take a long time and you're going to end up being really bored, but it's a very big place. Lots of space. So that's the summary.
Very cool. Thank you. And it's a great episode. Go check out Hey Strangeness. Listen to them all, of course, but the Dogman episode is my favorite.
Thank you very much.
Let us see here. Oh, okay. You had a crazy adventure. You also go over this in one of your other episodes, but what was Cryptid Bash like? Like that must have been
I was
crazy.
I was hoping we get to talk about that. So it was one of the best days of my year. Absolutely a highlight of the year. It was incredibly surreal seeing all these people in person that I've talked to online and whose work I'm a big fan of and whose podcasts I listen to. Like, I think Asher's and I were talking about this when we kind of first got there in the morning, but I'm like walking around hearing all these voices that I usually hear in my headphones, but they're right in front of me.
Weird.
So, it was really weird, but in a really, really good way.
Right.
And everybody was so nice and so welcoming and so kind. Like, we're driving across the country to meet people that we've only talked to online for a couple months. And Sarah and I were talking, we're like, what if this isn't good? Like, but it was amazing. Like
30 hours, right? Was it 30?
It was 24 hours to get to West Virginia. And then we were that far north. We're like, we may as well go to DC and New York with a couple extra vacation days. So we did that. So it was 30 hours to get home. It was an adventure for sure. It was an adventure. But the event was amazing. The Moth Boys put together an incredible event in 4 months, like mind blown. You'd think they'd spent a year and a half on it. It was just really great. I could go on about that for a while.
What was there one person that was like, you were just like, I can't believe that you are actually like in front of me right now. Like,
yeah. So I had that moment a little bit with just about everybody, but I met Seth Breedlove, which again,
oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Die-hard Small Town Monsters fan. And he is such a nice guy. Super cool. I got to meet Adrian, Heather Mosier. If I start naming names, I'm going to leave somebody out. But meeting Seth was really cool. We had a nice little conversation. It was good. It's a good time.
Very cool. I'm psyched. I'm going to put it's going to go in the episode right now. So Van Meter Visitor is like 3 weeks away, the Van Meter Visitor Festival. And I'm psyched because like, so many random people are going to be there, but Cryptic Comfort's going to be there, so I'll meet Lisa. And she's Creepy cool. Acres, that's out of nowhere, but that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And, good stuff. Tate, I see your comments. I'm still not acknowledging them. I have always been a fan of the books that you have in your Instagram feed.
Oh, thanks.
You must have bookcases. I mean, I can see behind you right now. You literally have books on top of your cases that are not even like in shelves.
It's kind of a problem. I'll get there. This is the stack of everything I've read so far this year on top of this shelf. And then below this is paranormal fiction. And then paranormal nonfiction's back there. Star Wars is after that. It's a lot. It's a problem.
Wow.
One day I'll get another.
I didn't even know you were into Star Wars too. That's a whole, because they got the thing right now where it's like the story kind of goes across books and comic books and like there's a name for it, but it's like
the High Republic.
There you go.
Yeah,
Thank you.
these 3 are actually the first in that series. And then there's a couple more out that I'm behind. I'm behind on my Star Wars books, but
Wow.
yeah. I like to think I read a lot, but I follow a couple bookstagrams where people are putting away 3 and 4 a week, and I'm like, nah, I just read a little bit.
It's crazy. So what are you reading right now then?
So I just finished a Michael Rutger novel. He writes paranormal fiction about a paranormal investigator. So that was pretty interesting. It's a novel called The Possession. I can recommend that. And that's actually, I made myself stop with just that one book. So I'm kind of between volumes right now. Yeah. Got a Linda Godfrey I haven't finished off yet.
Oh, which one?
American Monsters, or is that what it's called? Yeah,
All
American
right.
Monsters. Mm-hmm. That'll probably be next.
Before we go too far away from the Star Wars, of course, I've got a question here from Greg. What's your favorite Star Wars movie?
All right.
That's a good question.
All right. So all time, Empire Strikes Back. Stylistically, in terms of like flow of events, the way it doesn't end on the happiest note. It's my favorite one. It's my favorite one. I don't hate the new trilogy and I don't hate the prequels, but it'll always be Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Always.
That's cool. That's cool. I would have to say probably the Ewok Adventure. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it's a seminal
But
classic.
the Ewok Adventure is a solid movie. Like those are very nostalgic for me because how I saw them, I guess. Also Wilford Brimley. But no, I like Rogue One. It's good. It is Greg says it's a vital question. So hopefully your answer sufficed. Mm-hmm. Tate also asks, has Aaron met Kathy Strain? That's a random question.
I have not.
Well,
I have not.
Someday you shall have to. When you start going to Bigfoot conferences.
I know.
She's a good guest.
I want to meet everybody.
Let's see here. What is the most prized book on your bookshelf?
Oh, that's a tough one too. Gosh, like if my apartment's on fire and my wife and my cats are safe and I can only take one with me, what's going to be hardest to replace? I have a first edition hardcover of Communion by Whitley Strieber.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's just something you hang on to, you know, like most of these that I bought on Amazon, I could replace them. That'd be hard to find. So I guess that one. Yeah, I guess that one.
Okay. Okay. Do you have a book that you've been trying to find forever and ever and you haven't been able to track it down?
Yes. The Vertical Plane, which is a crazy book about a guy who gets emails from the 1500s. And now I'm blanking on the author's name. I'm going to look it up real quick. But it sells for an average of like $500 to $800 between Amazon and eBay. You can't find it.
Oh, heck yes.
You can't find it. Yeah. Vertical Plane. Sorry, I should have had this written down. I had a feeling we were going to talk about books.
It's crazy because so listeners might be like, oh, really, $500 to $700 on Amazon? No, I used to thrift and stuff and sell stuff on Amazon. People will pay $500 to $700 for a book. They
will. Some of Jody Cook's books, or one specifically, I think it's just now I'm blanking on the title, but it's about winged entities. Sells for like $900 on Amazon. Yeah. And it's The Vertical Plane by Ken Webster. It was published in the UK. It hasn't been in print since the 80s. But it's about a guy with a very, very old computer, pre-internet computer, who starts getting messages from the past. Ooh. So cool story. Maybe true, maybe not. Amazon has one copy for $500. That's my holy grail.
If you got that book, hit up Hey Strangeness and make his day. You know what I'm saying? Wink.
You guys could do that.
Just saying, we're gonna manifest it. Also, Jonathan says, dude, yes, Ewoks for life. They need to bring the Ewoks back. I'm just saying.
Always. No reason not to. They've got the resources. You're all over the place when you're looking at different subjects, but I'm curious, what do you wish more people were talking about right now in regards to cryptozoology? Right now, Dogman, absolutely. Okay. You say Sasquatch, you say Loch Ness Monster, in Texas especially, you say Chupacabra, people know exactly what you're talking about. But if you say werewolf, they're like, okay, walk me back here for a second, you know, like, no. What I'm talking about, then you go on this long tirade about, or I go on this long tirade about how I'm not talking about transforming under a full moon. I got bit. Now I turn into a dog thing. You know, then you have to get into explaining what dogman is. I wish more people knew about dogman. It's a pretty compelling phenomenon.
Speaking of dogs and vampires, Greg asks, what is your favorite Twilight book or movie?
Probably the first one. I've only read the first book, and I've seen all the movies because I was, you know, working in a movie store when they were being released, so it's kind of inevitable. But yeah, probably the first one. It builds the universe, sets the stage.
The Twilight universe.
Yeah. I also
there is a Twilight universe, though. It's crazy.
There is. It's a combined universe with its own lore, its own mythology, which is borrowed from other things. But you can't really talk about vampires or werewolves without borrowing from something at this point. Sarah feels very strongly that they should be thought of as comedies, as opposed to romantic action suspense thrillers.
Ooh,
so if you watch
liking her more already.
Yeah, if you watch it as a comedy, it's different.
Okay, you know Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Absolutely, 100%.
You know the riff tracks?
Yes, love those guys.
Go to riff tracks and like you can watch demos, and their demos for the Twilight movies are the funniest things. I have to watch the whole thing someday, but it's the funniest things you'll see. So good. Team Mustache Dad all the way, dude. Such a funny riff. Let's what are you excited about most in general right now?
Just in life or in?
Yeah, just in life.
Oh man. Gosh, I didn't expect that. That's a cool question. It's almost time for cold weather here in Texas, and that would be really nice. It would be nice if it cooled off. We've had 101, 102 degree days for the last several weeks. So in general, that. Yeah. Right now,
what is
this?
Nice.
This moment,
what is cold weather? Yeah. What is cold weather in Texas, though?
So normally we get maybe a little bit of ice, some 20-degree days, but then we got hit with that ice storm back in February, which if you were following the news at that time,
totally.
Yeah, the coldest it's been in Texas in like 80-some years. So most of the state lost power and water. And I work in apartment management. I live on site, so I worked like 60-some odd hours that week. So that was what last winter was like. This next one, I'm hoping a little less. But they are predicting snow and ice again, so we'll see.
I want to shout out someone who's in the chat right now. Ashers is here.
Ashers.
Hey, Ashers, you're the best.
That's my girl.
For sure, dude. For sure. This could go a lot of different ways, but what are the top books? Let's say someone's listening to this, and I usually ask this about Bigfoot, but I will give you leeway if you need it. What are the top books that someone getting into? We could say Bigfoot. If you want to stretch it out, we could say cryptozoology. What are ones that you recommend are good, like gateway books?
Yes. So, I actually got 2 nonfiction and 1 fiction for getting into Bigfoot stuff. Like if you're trying to just kind of get a summary of what's out there in the lore, De-Evolution by Max Brooks is one that I'm always harping on. It's fiction, but you can tell he did his research because all of the Sasquatch behaviors and the evidence that the protagonists find leading up to people see Sasquatch in the book. I don't think I'm spoiling too much. The cover has a big footprint on it. So, you know, but
I mean, they get wrecked, right? Like that's kind of,
it doesn't end well for most parties concerned, but that's kind of what you go in for. You know, you want to see Sasquatch wreck somebody's stuff. So, but it's very, very good. You can tell Mr. Brooks probably spent quite a bit of time reading stuff by Lyle Blackburn and Nick Redfern and watching Monster Quest and watching Small Town Monsters docs, because there's a lot of good stuff in there. So I would definitely recommend that. See, that's a tough one. The Mothman Prophecies, you have to read that. if you haven't read any other paranormal fiction, it's very, very important to, as far as getting us where we are today in terms of what we know or what we think we know, widespread knowledge about some unsolved phenomena, you know, Say what you want about John Keel. I'm a big fan, obviously, but he did a lot to bring attention to the unsolved. And the Mothman Prophecies is truly an unnerving book. Like if you really read it and look at what this guy was going through, if it's in any way true, it's kind of scary. It's kind of some scary stuff. So definitely the Mothman Prophecies. And then, dang, that's not really cryptozoology. Wendigo Lore by Chad Lewis and Kevin Lee Nelson.
That's a deep cut, dude. That's a deep cut.
That one gets me. It's actually right here on my shelf. But I read that early in the year, actually during the freeze here in Texas. So it was kind of surreal because the Wendigo has a heavy association with cold and winter and ice. But it's very interesting. You learn a lot about Native American lore, a lot about that period of history when this legend kind of got started. Very interesting. Very good read. So yeah. Those are probably my 3 right now.
Nice. I like those because those are ones I don't know if we've ever heard all of those. That's good stuff. Good stuff.
Thanks, man.
Going back into the Mothman a little bit, what was going through your mind when you first took in the Mothman statue with your very own eyes? Kind of walk me through what's going through Aaron's mind there.
So it was such a cathartic, beautiful moment. And it's 2:00 in the morning, it took us, I don't know how many hours, but we had just driven from New York. So it was 2 a.m. Nobody's on the streets except one guy riding a bicycle, smoking a cigarette, but he wasn't interested in us. We weren't interested in him. It was fine. And I'm walking up to this thing, and there's nobody around and it's lit up at night. Like they have it lit up like an American flag. It's very bright in the little courtyard space there. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm here. I'm actually here. It's been
crazy
20 odd years that I've wanted to come here and I'm standing here. And like people say that Point Pleasant has an energy and a feeling to it, and maybe I was sleep deprived and I've been driving for too long and I had obviously really hyped this moment up in my head, but there's a feeling to that place, man. It definitely has a spirit of its own, so to speak.
I love it. Is it taller than you expected or like, I don't even know how tall it is.
Yeah, I mean, because it's on a pedestal, so I think someone in the audience probably knows exactly how tall the statue is. But he's 5 something, I would guess, maybe 6.
Wait, Jamie, look that up. I'm just kidding. I don't have a Jamie. That's a Joe Rogan reference.
Somebody knows.
Somebody knows. Someone will look up how tall the Mothman statue is and put it in the comments. I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Someday I will see the Mothman statue with mine own eyes as well.
Highly recommend.
Have a few people. Darth says, I'm reading that right now. So he is pumped about your recommendation. That's awesome. And Jonathan says that book is well researched. Max Brook did the work.
Agreed,
there's actually a really fun interview with him and Wes from Sasquatch Chronicles. And Max did get really deep in. Max, you're welcome to come on the show anytime. I know you're watching this right now, but
he's definitely watching. He heard his name.
Have your people call my peoples. There's also a conversation about meatballs going on in the chat. That's fun too.
It's pretty cool.
Let's continue. Oh, so primarily, it's a cryptozoology podcast, but it's got Bigfoot in the name. So, what is your view on what is Bigfoot? How are you explaining that to someone?
So maybe I'm a coward, but I like to always leave everything on the table. Most likely, I think Bigfoot is an indigenous species that we've yet to fully classify, either because it's smarter than we're giving it credit for, and that's why we can't track down a specimen. I could get into arguing the logic behind an indigenous species, flesh and blood creature, but most of those arguments have been made. But that's kind of where I tend to land. I enjoy very much the interdimensional spectral theory. I know that's a little harder to stomach for some people, but we have a lot of anecdotes about Sasquatch allegedly appearing and disappearing out of portals. So can't write it off. Really can't write it off. I heard a fun theory. I don't know where I heard it. I would credit the person that said it or posted about it. It may have even been a meme. But what if Sasquatch are the ghosts of like human ancestors? Who said that? Someone said that.
Oh, I've heard that too. Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember where it's from, but I've heard that too.
I'm going to be kicking myself.
It's an interesting thought, for sure.
And I said, I don't like to take anything off the table, but I probably lean more towards the flesh and blood theory, just because we do have evidence for that. So
myself as well would be closer to that. But cool thing is, talk to all sorts of people on this podcast. Ashers has a question for you. Aaron, what is something that you're looking forward into diving into that you don't know too much about?
Ooh, that's a really fun one.
Question.
That's a really fun one. Time travel. Actually, we mentioned it a second ago. There's some chatter about time travel right now. Nick Redfern's got a book coming out, and I really enjoy his stuff. So that's kind of not our next topic that we're going to be researching, but I do have that in my footnotes. And I've seen, Discovery Channel documentaries and Nat Geo and stuff like that. But I'm really excited to get into the more less mainstream science side of time travel. Yeah.
Nice.
How much there is, I don't know. I'm about to find out. So
you never know with CERN causing alternate realities and Back to the Future Part 10. Who knows?
Yeah, CERN is a whole rabbit hole.
That's a different podcast.
That's some fun stuff. Yeah, that's a whole other topic.
I don't even know. I gotta stop watching TikTok too much.
There's so much on there.
I'm curious. What's your favorite color? This is from Greg.
Great questions, guys. Man, this is awesome.
We are going all over the place. I love this.
Dark blue, I guess. Most things I own are blue. We painted this wall green, but that's just because we wanted something green. Yeah, blue all the way.
Perfect. Let's say we've got a listener right now where they are just getting into cryptids. They don't know too much about it. Maybe they just they have a cryptid Bigfoot toy or something, like very, very basic, right? Which is cool. But what would you say? What's the best way to find out more about cryptids? What do you recommend them to do?
Well, first decide what you want to find out more about, because if you just strike out and search cryptid documentaries, you're going to find so much, or cryptid books, you're going to find so much. It's like trying to get into Star Trek for the first time. It's like, where do I start? So totally. Do I want to know more about Bigfoot? Do I want to know more about the Loch Ness Monster? Do I want to find out about something I'd never heard of? Like, for me, the Van Meter Visitor, I'd honestly never heard of until you started talking about it. So props to you for that one. But find out what you want to learn about first. And then, do you like documentaries? Well, find a documentary. Do you like books? Find a book. Do you like podcasts? Find a podcast. Yep. I enjoy all three, kind of depending on the mood I'm in that day. But not everybody likes podcasts. I get that. Not everybody has the time to sit down and read necessarily. I get that. But between all the resources that are out there, all the resources that are available online, if you know, first of all, what it is you'd like to know more about, there is something out there that you will enjoy processing and engaging with that will teach you more about that subject, especially now, because enthusiasm is so high in the community. There's so many people putting out podcasts, books, documentaries, and doing such a good job of it. So there's so much out there. You just got to know what you want to start with, I guess. I hope that answers the question. No,
that's a good answer. I think a lot of it is definitely know what your learning style is, know what attracts you, what like I'm a podcast guy, I'm a reader, stuff like that. That's super smart. Know who you are first. And you're right. We do live in such an awesome time period where everyone played Fallout 76, right?
Yes.
With the West Virginia cryptids. And I think that like totally was like cryptid, everyone go. And then everyone got bored during the pandemic, which listeners in the future is still going on. But anyways,
it is.
So they got bored, and a lot of cryptid people made podcasts. I think everyone made podcasts anyways, but like imagine if there had been not a pandemic, and like how many podcasts would not exist. But anyways.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. That was kind of what got me into the podcast aspect of it. It was like, I got all this time now. I'm working from home. I need something to engage my brain. And I was already really into like Small Town Monsters at that point. But I started getting into different podcasts, and that's, it's a big avenue.
Jonathan Dodd says, I think that was the Newkirks you were referring to with the Bigfoot theory there.
I think you might human ancestor.
You might be right. Sounds familiar.
Yeah,
we'll have to have Jamie fact check that.
Get on it,
also, Jamie. Hey, Strangeology, our buddy Strange Ollie says, "Hey y'all, hey buddy, thanks for stopping by.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, dude."
Good to see you.
We got a few more questions. We're gonna keep chugging. If you got, there's all sorts of questions going in the comments, but if you got any questions at all about cryptozoology or anything for Aaron, definitely put those in the chat. I'm gonna bring up a random one. Why not?
Yeah.
Aaron, I hope you're ready for anything.
I'm ready. Hit me.
What's your favorite type of cheese, buddy?
Ooh, sharp cheddar. Sharp cheddar all the way.
Pepper jack is mine.
That's, you can't go wrong with pepper jack too, though. Yeah,
for sure.
That's a good one.
Sure. Hey, Jonathan Dodd says mozzarella is his, but it's
very versatile cheese.
Here's one of mine, so it's going to be more about cryptids. What do you think the next cryptid to take the community by storm is? And I'll kind of give a. So last year, I feel like it was the snallygaster, and I totally called it, and it's because Sara rocked it with her future museum,
which is going to be
incredible. And the snallygaster is everywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's one that's gonna sneak on in? And
man, that's a really good question. Really good question. I am surprised, and I'm maybe I'm sucking up a little here, but I'm surprised more people don't talk about the Van Meter visitor, because it is such a weird story. You had so many witnesses, and you have such a specific description of such an odd thing, kind of like with the Flatwoods monster, which I think has also taken off a little more recently. But yeah, I would probably say, or Dogman, because I think if as many people that believe Sasquatch is real believe that werewolves could be real, I don't know. Dude, I don't know what the numbers are, but
the land between the lakes stuff is that's a whole land between the lakes dogman stuff is a whole different sub niche within cryptozoology. You know what I'm saying? Like that Kentucky dogman attack stuff. There's all sorts of crazy. You can go through rabbit holes through rabbit holes. Tate has a really good question here. Bravo, Mr. Tate. Favorite old Bigfoot report.
Oh man,
I guess you could say report, story,
encounter,
anything like that.
So I have a favorite piece of evidence and I have a favorite story. Can I do both?
I like that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So my favorite encounter is Battle of Eight Canyon, Mount St. Helens. You know, the miners and the cabin and the rock throw. That one's so fascinating. And maybe it's because Mount St. Helens erupted and now we can never properly investigate it. But that one I find really interesting. And then maybe I'm falling back on an easy one, but the Patterson-Gimlin film, I still think that's one of the most, if not the most compelling piece of evidence we have to date, because we still can't fully debunk it. So
that's true. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go, I love the Patterson-Gimlin film. I also like the nest site evidence that is coming out more and more from the Olympic Project. All right. We got some questions rolling in now. Here we go. So Jonathan Dodd says, what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen or experienced? This is actually one of my questions that I had on my list. So nice work, Jonathan.
Neat. Very neat.
Yeah.
So I dated a girl once who told me she was related to Vlad Dracula. So that was kind of weird, but I did learn a lot about Vlad Dracula. So anyway, when I was maybe 13, 14, I lived in Florida, and there's a lot of woods, a lot of swamp in the part of the state that I grew up in. And my friend and I found what, I don't know, was the remnants of a house at one time. The ground had been burnt. There was a lot of really old stuff kind of mixed in with the pine needles and things. And there was a cat skull sitting on a tree stump right in the middle of this site of burned out. And that was actually the event that kind of kicked off my encounters with the less friendly side of the spiritual realm, I guess. Things got a little weird and a little dark after that for a couple of months. And that again was the experience that kind of set me off on this whole track. So
wow,
that's probably it. Yeah.
Some crazy stuff, dude. Yeah. You gotta be careful when you go out in the wood, growing up in Western Mass as a young kid. It's you just get a weird feeling. You look around and you're like, uh-oh, time to go. And I don't know why, but it's time to skedaddle.
It was very much a place where you did not feel you were supposed to be. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Tate said that great question, by the way, Jonathan. Tate says, if you could go looking for Bigfoot with any researcher, past or present, who would it be?
I feel like this is a trick question. Should I just say Tate?
You probably should. I didn't even think of that, but that's hilarious. It really should be Tate Hieronymus all over.
There's so many good people in the field. That's really tough. But
yeah.
Ooh, it'd be cool to go camping with Bob Gimlin and just hear him.
That would be legit.
Talk, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Again, maybe an easy answer, but.
Good answer. Good answer. Asher says, if you could discover one thing, what would you choose to discover? Ooh. It's like she has her own podcast.
Dude, I know. She's such a good.
She's so good.
She's so good at these questions. Yeah. She was nice enough to have me on her show with her and Pat a couple weeks ago. And she just always. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun too.
On Wednesdays, we talk weird, right?
Yes. On Wednesdays, we talk weird. And also people who make stuff. That's coming out now. It's good stuff. Such a good question, though. If I could choose one thing. Ooh. I would like to know if John Keel was right about his universal theory of the super spectrum, that all paranormal phenomena are connected somehow. I would really like to know if that is accurate or not, because that's one of my favorite theories, and it ties together ghosts and aliens and cryptids and, you know, all kinds of stuff. If he was right. I really like some of his writing. Some of it I'm like, I don't know, dude, you kind of lost me. But if I could discover one thing before I leave this planet, that would probably be it.
That's the one. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, there's so many things. If you could be like, I just need to know this whole list about what John Keel, that would be great.
Yeah. And that was what was so cool. One of the things that was cool about talking to David Weatherly a couple weeks ago is he knew John Keel. They talked a lot, you know, back in the day. So yeah, having that connection is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That's crazy, dude. Yeah, I guess that is possible. Very cool. We were talking about him earlier. Someone's ears were burning. Paranormality magazine says Aaron's awesome.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
No, you are awesome, Paranormality magazine. And I can't wait to see that awards show. That's actually a really cool idea. So good job with that, guys. Asher says, hey, Aaron is definitely really one of my favorite humans. It's true.
Aw, thanks, Asher. That does my heart good. You're the best. Thank you.
Tate says, hey, what historical Bigfoot site would you want to visit? I'm Bigfoot obsessed. Don't be sorry for that, Wink.
No, these are good questions. Probably the location of the skunk ape sightings, because I'm from Florida. Just seems like I should go there, you know, at some point.
Oh, this is a fun one, because this answer it wisely, because you never know. Paranormality says, who is the one person you wish you could interview? Wink.
Oh man, this is
Manifest.
Tough. One person? Oh, this is like the favorite book question all over again, but the stakes are a lot higher. I would really like to have a conversation or two with Nick Redfern. He's not as present online as some of the other guys that I really enjoy. Like, I love Lyle Blackburn's work. I love Linda Godfrey. I love, obviously, Small Town Monsters and all those guys. I do love Tate Hieronymus as well. Yeah. Nick, he's not around as much on the circles I'm in anyway. So I would love to sit down and pick his brain. Yeah.
Man, if someone could, like, you know, pull some strings. I don't know. I'm just saying, but who knows?
Somebody out there listening.
Sounds like someone's ready for it to happen.
Yeah.
But, wink. All right. Oh, this is one I thought of today. When it comes to cryptozoology, is there something that you enjoy watching or reading that other people would be kind of like, oh, that's cheeseball? Or do you have like a guilty pleasure when it comes to like the weird stuff?
I really like the really old, really bad documentaries, like the really low budget ones. And
explain what you mean.
So nothing in particular comes to mind, but if you go digging in the annals of, you know, Amazon Prime's streaming videos, there's some pretty low budget stuff on there where you're just like, I don't know, but I enjoy that because we talked about Mystery Science Theater a little while ago. I'm obsessed with the Godzilla movies. I like that kind of cheese factor to it. So, and again, no particular film is coming to mind. But that's kind of a guilty pleasure, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's the Alaskan Monsters show. Oh my goodness. Oh. And like the one leader guy looks like the bad dude from Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean when I say like, you know, cheeseball stuff. But
okay. Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
Hey, it's a legit show. All right.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff on there.
Do you have any? And we may have gone over this already, but advice to the person just getting into the weird in general.
Yeah.
Research advice.
Yes. So I ask everybody I interview this, and I asked David Weatherly this question: what advice would you give to new enthusiasts? And I was excited because his answer matched what mine would be. Like, read everything you can on the subject that you're interested in. And if you're not big on, again, sitting down and looking at books, Audible is a great resource. I'm sure there are other, streaming services out there. But just read as much material as you can, because documentaries are awesome. Some of my favorite content creators make documentaries, but you only have that window of time where you have the viewer's attention, where you can get your message across. So books don't have that same constraint, I think, because you can keep adding more pages. And like, great example, The Beast of Bray Road, awesome book by Linda S. Godfrey, also a really awesome documentary about it by Small Town Monsters. But it wasn't until I had seen both that film and read the book that I was like, wow, now I'm truly hooked by this case, because I've taken in resources from more than one spot. So I might be rambling a little bit, but definitely read what you can, where you can, if you have the attention span for it. And if not, look into podcasts. Podcasts can be not a substitute for books, I don't think, but it can be a nice introduction.
With any resources, of course, do your research into the person who's creating the resource to make sure they are reputable, right? Yeah. Oh, have you ever looked into like old newspaper archives and stuff?
I have not done that yet. And I have not done that yet.
No. I need to do that myself, because like I interview Mark Mersell, and like I get so inspired to like go all Indiana Jones into the local library and find like the monster story that has been forgotten for 200 years and discover the next, regional cryptid. But
yeah,
I gotta go do it, Here's a good, so advice: not everything on the internet is valid. Absolutely. That's a really good point, because like there's some sites out there, you go looking for like, what are all the cryptids in Iowa? And it's like, oh, there's this one where it's only mentioned one place and there's no source for it. And it's like, well, maybe I don't want to actually like put my credibility on the line about that. Like it's really hard.
This could be a Reddit thing that someone just came up with. Yeah. You need a source.
Exactly. And it's like, it's crazy how the content we put out right now, for example, I was talking to, oh boy, I've forgotten a name and this is live. Hooray. But pretty much the idea is he was doing a story about a puckwudgie, had a detail, a TV show ran with the detail, and then that has become ingrained into the lore of the cryptid. So you got to be careful. Yeah, it's crazy. Or like, I believe I was talking, well, we'll just leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. This is more fun. Asher says, what do you think about mermaids? That's a valid question for sure.
100% open to the concept of their existence. Because kind of like with dogmen, there's a lot that goes back in human mythology and history and stuff like that, where you can say, well, hey, this is something we've been talking about for a long time. I also just finished a book about mermaids, which is fictional, but maybe I'm kind of in that realm of wanting to believe it. Yeah, it's Merfolk by Jeremy Bates. Pretty cool. I would check it out. Okay. But yeah, 100% open to the possibility. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Let's see. I like how the logo looks like Aaron had a Bigfoot head chilling on
it does look like that. There.
It's almost perfect, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, the Bigfoot logo designed by Greg from all.the.weird.
Greg.
Shout him out for being amazing for that. Let's man, it has been super fun having you on. I want to give kind of like a 5-minute warning for any other questions that want to be put in the chat, but I do have one that just came to mind. What is it's almost like you guys, I have a feeling you could be like crazy adventurers. What's the next thing on the list to go adventure to?
Ooh.
Cryptid, weird wise. Is there anything that you want to go after?
Yeah, so probably the Marfa lights. Not so much a crypto. Oh, really? It's an interesting one. Marfa is a small little town in the desert in Texas, which is basically an art installation. But there is a recurring phenomena of red lights being seen hovering over the highway. And they've done different studies to try and debunk them and figure out what they are. And so far, we haven't conclusively figured it out. So some people think they're ghosts. Some people think there's a portal. Some people are putting it in the UFO basket. I'm open to all that stuff, but I want to go camping in Marfa for a couple nights and camp out by that road and see if we can get them on film. That's what I'd like to do next. And it's only about 8 hours from here. Yeah. Are
you going to CryptidCon? I can't remember.
Hopefully. That's on the list. Hopefully. We're trying. Right there in the holiday season, so we got to see what else is going on. But I think so. I think we can swing it. Yeah.
All right.
Very much hoping to. I don't want to miss it.
Cool, man. Any other things that you want to, just a reminder, YouTube, but also this will be going out in podcast form as well, right? So anyone, any other things that you wanted to make sure got out there that we didn't talk about, or how can people follow you, things like that?
Yeah, so you can find Sara and I on Instagram under Hey_Strangeness. It was going to be something else, but those names were already taken. And then I've got a link tree on there that takes you to our Discord server, our YouTube page, the Apple and Spotify links to our show. That's really the main thing. Instagram is what we update almost daily, though. It's either books, some weird graphic we made in Canva, or every once in a while some actual.
You're good at the Canva stuff, though. I'll give you that. Like,
thank you.
Some good graphics.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's end with, why not a take question? Here we go.
That'd be awesome.
Would Aaron want to meet up to Squatch in Florida sometime?
Yes. 100%. Once hurricane season's over, we're going to put that on the.
That's true.
On the count. I'd be so down for that.
But let's be honest, hurricane season is everywhere this year. So
yeah, and it's also never completely over, I don't think. So
yikes.
Yeah,
man. Except for Iowa. Come out to Iowa. We don't have hurricanes. Yay!
Don't you have tornadoes?
Well,
no, of course not.
Yeah, no. What are tornadoes? Man, Aaron, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
Super fun chatting with you, and thanks for everyone that's been hanging out in the comments with us.
Thank you, guys.
Kate, Jonathan, Ashers, Greg, and more. You guys are all the best.
The best.
Housekeeping. If you are not subscribed to this channel yet, please hit subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers so I can live stream using YouTube from Van Meter Visitor. So we're at 505. We can get to 1,000.
We can do this.
I know we can do it.
Very achievable.
Follow Bigfoot Society on @Bigfoot Society for Instagram, and BigfootSocietyPodcast.com. But thanks again for hanging out on your Friday night, all. And next week, we'll see you at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on the YouTube channel. I'll be talking to Heather Mosier from Small Town Monsters. It should be an amazing time. So
that's going to be great.
See you there with your questions. All right. Thanks again, Aaron.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you so much. You too.